welcome everybody to our fourth of 4 webinars about getting you ready for 2026 and why skills are going to help you unlock the performance that you're looking for.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Nice to see everyone again today, and thank you so much for attending on the run up to Christmas, as we say. So it's been a busy time for everybody.
As we've done with previous webinars, here's our details for Kirsty and myself. Do say hello in the chat and let us know where you're from and why you've joined the webinar today. And if there's any specific questions you have, you can drop those into the chat at any point and we'll pick them up as we go. And if there's anything in particular you want to go deep into, you can always pick that up with us outside the webinar. Our contact details, as we've shown, are here and you're able to get in touch with us on that.
Absolutely. I know. So we've covered quite a lot in the last 4 weeks. So we started back on the 26th of November. We looked at trying to gain that strategic buy-in and engagement with teams. And then we talked about what is skills architecture, how do you discover it? And then we moved on to really talking about what skills do we need? How do we find that hidden talent? And building on that again into last week's session, thinking about upskilling, reskilling, learning pathways, and taking teams and colleagues on that kind of journey into this week, really thinking about what do we do now with all those amazing skills? How do we optimize skills for workforce planning? And I think really importantly about today's session, how is that linked to the strategic journey the business is on, and then looking at the skills that we need to execute on that journey? So really thinking about alignment and impact and where that comes from.
So we've got a question to kick off. We usually kick off with a question at the beginning of our webinars, just to get you thinking as well.
Just to make sure you're awake as well, probably.
So we'd like to ask at this point, just for a moment of reflection, what does workforce planning mean to you? Do you have a plan? Is that plan looking ahead? Is that workforce plan looking at today? How does that matter to your business? Are you struggling to do the workforce planning that you need to do right now for today? Or do you have a more strategic approach? So how strategic do you think your approach is? It may be that you sit on spectrum here, you're firefighting, you've not got what you need today, or you've got a good plan that takes you on a forward look about what your business needs to do. So it's just a moment to pause and think about your workforce planning situation today on what does workforce planning mean to you in your organisation. We've had some comments in there about looking ahead, but we've also got some unknown factors, and that's for everybody as well, isn't it? Everybody has hitting the unknown all the time. Planning helps you with that, but there are going to be those unknown things coming through. Workforce planning, the CIPD definition is that workforce planning is a strategic business practice, ensures that organisations have the right people in the right roles with the right skills at the right time. And that's for both current and future organisational goals.
Yeah, I think that is a tricky one because, we can't live in the future when we've got so much to do today. And do the skills that we have now track towards what maybe that potential future state might be? And even thinking about scenarios-based planning, if the business grows or it has to contract or something else happens economically that affects us, can we strategically pivot the skills that we have right now to cope with that change? So I think it's not always just about this future planning thing, but it's actually thinking about how agile are your skills inside the business too. So it's a tricky balancing act, isn't it? I think it always sounds so lovely and straightforward on these sort of things like the CIPD definition, but actually in the real everyday work that we have, it can feel quite tricky to align that to things that we're doing and we should be going in business as well. So it's about how we drive the performance too. How do we understand this and use that to help performance and align people to those targets too? And what's the difference between the reskilling and upskilling parts of that as well? So tricky. It's not easy.
That's right. And doing this obviously involves a lot of analysis of the current workforce that you've got, an element of forecast and understanding whereabouts your horizon sits in that forecasting, thinking about the gaps you've got in supply and demand and solutions that make sure that that all works and ties together. So it's not a small task. It's a lot of work to pull this together. This is where the workforce planning position sits, and you might sit in doing all of this or doing some of this. So I think it would be useful just to set the scene with that explanation there.
I really love this visual, Dinah. It's every week we've kind of touched upon each one of the stepping stones along this journey as well. And I think this is just a real reminder of that flow and cycle and systems-based approach that we have to take towards thinking about this planning and identifying what skills that we need. And it's not a single point in time, so it really is this agile thing that's growing with the business as you grow and your teams grow as well. It's looking at what is the strategic objectives that the business is on and where can we add more value to the approach that we're taking as well. We started off with skills, we looked at the work that needs to be done, we're looking at outcomes, and today we're looking at key results. What do these results mean in terms of performance and growth?
Just a reminder, today we're going to look at these three concepts. We're going to look at how optimizing skills can really help you with your workforce planning. We're going to look at encouraging agility, and we're going to look at that strategic alignment and impact of doing this workforce planning in this different way. Another question for you to consider where you sit. Can you currently optimize the skills that you have in your workforce? Optimize means make the best or most effective use of your skills and your workforce. I'd be interested to hear if you're doing this with your skills today. Are you able to see how the skills link to your strategy, or are they just not connected at all? Do you have people in jobs and you're looking at org charts, but you're not necessarily thinking about the skills in that space? And when you look at work to be done, are you thinking about gaps in the org chart, job vacancies and things like that, or are you thinking about capabilities and skills? We have got some comments in there about it being hard to know what you have in different areas of the business. That can be difficult to get visibility of. So why do we think that optimizing skills for workforce planning helps?
Workforce planning, we all know, can fail when we cannot meet the demand, of what we need right now in the supply chain at the right time. I think about even the example that you gave, Dinah, as well, about someone not being in the bakery at the weekend because of illness, and that's not meeting the supply and demand of what customers need at that particular point in time. But if we think about it larger than that in businesses, really thinking about, what happens if there is reductions? What happens if there is technology changes or growth? It's really thinking about all those other kind of key facets. The current needs, so this 0 to 3 month window, I think most businesses, if I'm being really honest, that we speak to are kind of that 6 to 12 months window of looking ahead. And then the rest of it is like what we've had in the comments. It's quite tricky to plan for what next, unless hey, we've got this big contract win, or this is what we're going to do with digital transformation over the next 24 months, for example, or we're working on a big site, and this is the journey that the staff needs to go on at that particular point in time. So all the time we're thinking about the implications if we don't look at the skills and planning towards that point in time. It's looking at not just the org chart, not just fulfilling the number of jobs or head count in terms of capability. It's actually thinking about what are the key skills that we really need. Do we need that in whole or in part-time from our contingent talent pool, for example? Or is there more of that we can collectively do together in tasks, for example? What things should we be investing in terms of our L&D for that reskilling and upskilling piece as well?
Clearly, it's a better situation if you are able to look at skills for workforce planning. And if you do optimize for skills, that improves your ability, your own capability, as it were, to actually look at optimizing what you do with your workforce planning. So you're increasing your own capability because you can see the full visibility of the skills across the organization and identify those gaps with a lot more speed and accuracy than you might have if you're just thinking about job role profiles. You don't know who's doing the job and what skills you have. You can actually really invest in the targeted L&D here at this point. You're thinking, okay, we've got a skills gap. This is what will address the gap. This is what we need to invest in. And then that ties back into your strategy and what you're hoping to invest in. You're mapping back all the time to that business performance. You're building in real strengths then that actually support the performance objectives that you have in your business, as opposed to disconnecting performance to people and skills. That's all starting to line up to give you the power that you need to push that performance forward. You're able to allocate the right people to the work, spot risks early. So this is when you get into that workforce planning state of mind around this, that you're not just dealing with the problem right now. Obviously, you have the problems, current problems, and how you identify the risks and deal with those is really important. But you've got the ability to have that slightly forward look and say, can we do something with this? Are we going to fall down? Are we able to deliver that objective in 2026? We have the ability to spot some of those risks for skills. We can keep the critical skills protected and think about the skills that are high value to your business. So where are you really adding value in your business performance?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the critical skills that you must protect, and you must make sure that you have succession and you have reskill and you have new talent coming into those roles. Keeping those protected will help safeguard your performance. You're better able to understand your skills demand, and you can increase your flexibility and your agility with supply. Supply of skills doesn't necessarily mean supply of people, because the skills can exist in different roles and different people in the organisation, and all of those things will help you to drive the improved performance with the right skills, right time, right person.
It's the why, and having the evidence to be able to justify the decisions that we're making about growing the business and supporting the business in that way. And I think that's the biggest aha moment for people when they start to look at things slightly differently than just the org chart.
Yeah, definitely they do. Moving beyond an org chart, how do you start doing this? Your company strategy will drive the key results and outcomes, the real value that I touched on in the last slide there. You now need to backtrack and think about the work that needs to happen to create that value, to create those key results and outcomes, and then how you define the capability or the skills that you need to do that work effectively. If you can separate the skills and the capability from jobs and think instead about skills and the context for using those skills, that gives you the ability to start looking at how you're optimizing your workforce planning for skills.
Yep. And it's value. I think the key thing here, the mitigation doing it this way, is the safeguarding of value in terms of, time to hire, times for upskilling, all of those things. Normally when people start the other way around, that's when it leads to more problems in terms of, well, what is it that we actually really do need? And do we need to hire all of those people, or can we do things in a very different kind of way? So.
And that's the thing. It's whether you have, it's not just hiring. A lot of organizations are in this squeezing, tightening position at the moment where they're not hiring. They're going to have to do not more with less, but certainly do different with the same. So how are they going to be able to achieve the performance objectives that they need as an organization if they don't understand the landscape that they have in their organization today? So if you've got that skills capability understanding, and we did give you the guidance in the earlier webinar about how to do the skills audit in your organization, once you've got that visibility to see what skills you have, you can start to build that capability that will drive those key results for you.
We've got another question thinking about how agile are we as a business, and again, just have a little maybe pause and think about that. And what do we really mean by agile when we're out talking to businesses? But how responsive they are to change? Are they able to move easily or quickly and adapt to things that are going on around them? Or they win a new contract, they lose a contract, for example, or there's a pause, because we're seeing lots of things like that actually happen. Now things are starting again. So what do we do with those skills and those people while we've got these kind of pause moments?
So it's about agile with a small a. The comments on here about it could be a bit more agile. We could all be more agile, I guess, but it's about changing how you move that progression path mentality from logical sequential progression to thinking about people in the round. So we're using the word agile here with a small a because it's not like agile software development. This is about workforce agility. We're coming into now our second concept for today. Encouraging agility in your organisation, why it matters. Workforce agility is an organisational capability that helps you to dynamically align the people, skills and the capacity that you have to your shifting business needs in real time or in near real time. So you want to be able to think about this very much as problems and changes occur, you have data and the ability to do something with your workforce to make that shift happen.
Inside those businesses, we encounter many different shapes of how skills and capabilities are utilised. And we classically encounter those as the I, the T and the M. Dinah, I don't know if you maybe want to jump into giving a little bit more detail round about that.
Okay. I-shaped people, where it's like deep skills in one specific channel. Where we have T-shaped people, it's about broad but shallow knowledge across some things and deep knowledge and skills in one place. And as we move forward, it's this M-shaped person who has, again, an even broader knowledge across at a shallow level, but also then deep knowledge of more than one, more than two things as they fit into the organisation.
Yep, there's a lot to consider there, especially as each of those types of shapes come together in our organisation, and the overall implications of how do we become more agile. Sometimes what we're finding is, of course, we will need sometimes people who have very deep knowledge of one particular skill of capability. Sometimes we'll need people with broad knowledge, but it's actually about being able to bring those together to be able to look at how we can shift the skills into value work where we need it at that particular point in time. And then also, how do we make that feel fair and aligned for all people across our organisation? So it's not always focusing on certain key people or certain key departments or key skills. And that really leads us into thinking about some of those warnings, Dinah.
Yeah. So what workforce agility is not, what we're talking about is being able to adapt and change your organisation fairly and sensibly to help deliver performance. Agility isn't just flexible working or hybrid policies. It's not saying, oh, we have workforce agility because you can work at home. It's not about just asking people to do more with less. It's about really thinking strategically. What does that person need to know? How do they go about doing that? How do we get better performance from them and for ourselves as a business, and supporting them to learn? It's not just giving more work to fewer people. It's not either about constant reorganization. A lot of the time people hear agile and can be quite afraid of that being too much about constant change. And it's not about a lack of structure or planning. It's about being responsive, but having the equipment, the data and the ability to make decisions rapidly. That's what the agility is. It's not a sort of chaos system. It's about understanding that if something happens, you are best equipped to be agile in your response.
So I think, again, just creating transparency and being able to communicate that at a skills-based level really it's much more helpful starting point. Because it's not based on supposition, it really is based on factual elements of what we need in order to be able to cope with the changes that are around about us. I think that really takes us into the next slide really well, actually, thinking about how do we encourage people to feel more able to cope with the changes that are happening round about them in business. How do we have that ability to really confidently adapt and encourage others to feel safe in the process? And what's the benefits of doing so as well? I think this is often the case. Once we've come through it, we can retrospectively look back on these points and say, hey, that it was better than we hoped it was going to be. But actually up front, we can use insights in real time, using skills data to be able to communicate change and the things that we're looking for from people, understanding the demand and utilisation, the resilience and efficiency opportunities that exist across the business as well. And I think it's also another really lovely way to fairly balance performance and opportunities It's now not based on just the loudest person shouting up about what they think that they've achieved in this last year. There is actually a really clear methodology in which to assess the capabilities or change that the business is going through. So benefits for individuals, the ability to identify their own skills and communicate how they've contributed to the journey that we're going on as a business, and how their skills have helped us improve and make those changes. And then also it lets them see, where the real opportunities lie in the business for them as well, and how they can plan their own development and career progression through that. And it's just helping to create always the balance between utilising your own skills fairly and reducing kind of burnout, because I think that's another big thing that we hear across businesses, is that sometimes it can feel like there's so much change and pace of change and things that people having to learn and adapt or cope with, especially with AI and everything at this moment in time. Staff can often feel a little bit overwhelmed and burnt out by all of that. But if we can show that and communicate it and knit it back into the things that we're learning and why we're learning, this opens us up to feeling that the world's got smaller, it's got more opportunity in it. It helps people to feel that they're part of that bigger strategic journey that you're on, and they're really part of something that gives them purpose. People don't feel that they're just another number or just that role title, So,
and a lot of organisations going through this transformation to a more agile workforce, it's not, again, all or nothing. It doesn't have to be everywhere. It can be in some places and not other places. So how do you get started with workforce agility? I'd say first step is use your business strategy and business plan to really think about the demand and capability that you have for today, right now, and also for the future, and think about your timeframes that work for you. There's no point coming up with an approach to be agile to meet an imaginary need that's 7 or 8 years hence, that it's not tangible for your business, and it's not going to add value to your business to come up with that sort of long time frame. Think about what it is that you're trying to achieve and start with a best fit solution for what you need to do for your business strategy. You can then use your skills audit to map your skills data. So thinking about the supply that you have in your workforce, you can think about that against the capability demands and the required timeframes. So you're saying, these are the skills that we have. This is what we need to get to. How will we fill the gap between there? And what does that look like in terms of when that needs to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You can then also thinking about your workforce planning starting today. Workforce planning starts right now. It doesn't have to be, this distant picture, but what are you doing now against high value work? Are you using the skills that you have against the highest value work? Are you able to reallocate skills and monitor utilization when demand changes? Are you able to cope with succession changes? Are you able to think about your internal talent? Are you able to think about your hiring proposition? All of your workforce plan and this agility piece really depends on you having a good set of information to be able to make those decisions.
That's harking back to value, so you can communicate real value in that work as well. I think that gives us so many answers about what we're doing with our people as well. And at Skillsminer, this is something, especially in this last year, we spent a lot of time working on this and the analytics round about it. So step one inside Skillsminer already today, you can very quickly and dynamically see a visible picture of your current skills and capability across the business, as well as the needs and the adjacencies in terms of those skill sets and where the matches lie. And we use that data to really build up that dynamic DNA of what's inside the business. What is it that you need? Who are you as a picture and as a skills profile collectively? The second step of that, we then look at mining for those skills and utilising the talent that sits inside your business to fulfill work projects, missions, create new vacancies and opportunities. But you're mapping that all the time back to your own taxonomy, your own DNA of what you actually collectively have today. The third step is it helps you to think about what is this predictive planning that we need to make now in the future. If we're looking at the skills that we have now, are they transferable and relatable about where we're going in the future? Not just with those particular jobs and tasks and things that we need to fill, but are those skills in demand and growing across the business, or actually are we seeing that there's less demand for those skills in the business? That's also another pointer about what should we be doing in the future with these particular skills and our colleagues, so we can future proof against those things. Thinking about future planning, it's not all crystal balls and it not making sense to the here and now. It really is by aggregating what we have right now. That helps us to predict what's coming up in the future. Just the final point, seeing what's at risk, where the gaps are, if there's any capability risks, how can that affect performance, and what can we do? What are the interventions that we do to close in on those gaps, or any critical skills areas that we need to give more attention to? And then thinking about, really why does all of this matter?
So we've gone through concept 1 and 2. We've looked at how we optimize skills for some of our workforce planning. And then we've looked at making our workforce itself more agile and matching the demand with the supply we have. So our third concept for today is this strategic alignment and impact. And it's just a reminder here of this performance value flow and how the objectives drive the skills that you need. So why does strategic alignment matter? So why do you want to get to this place at the end of the journey where you actually are strategically aligning your skills, your picture, your demand, your supply, your L&D, all of those pieces all joined together? Why does that matter? It's about the company strategy setting the direction and the skills that you need to supply and deliver that performance, all working in cohesion around that and being able to optimize how it all works together to drive the performance that you want to get to. So if you don't line your skills and your workforce and your L&D against the strategy that you deliver to, you're really mismatching skills the company needs. And we see this with things like the wrong L&D or big investment in learning programs that are then not actually utilized by people, or learning at the wrong point in time as well. Saying that we're going to do something that actually that learning can then decay before the role is actually active for people. So it's thinking about this really intelligently about when those skills need to come in to practice and how that work needs to happen. So if we don't do the strategic alignment piece, we're mismatching the skills, we're impacting performance with the wrong skills for the work that needs to be done, and we're limiting the results with ineffective capability or overwork capacity. That's the other thing. It's these two sides of the same coin, the capability and the capacity, the numbers, the people that you have, and can they do the work? So if you don't have the right people with the right skills, or you have too many or too few people in a role, then you'll just always be at a point of waste in your system in that case.
Yeah, I think the worst kind of things that we've seen in this last year, or the toughest things, is people that have got caught up in the AI bubble and they've rushed out to go and adopt new things, but actually, the business is not capable of the change, or like actually even thinking about how they're going to use the AI as part of their workflows and the things that they're doing. So here's this amazing tool that could create a lot of difference in the business, but people maybe don't know how to adopt it. They've not had the training or the reskilling, or they don't really understand why it is that they're actually adopting it as part of what they've got to do. And that's classically because making the decision to adopt this new piece of technology or this new process hasn't actually been connected to what the other half of the business can do. So it's tricky, it's not easy, but I think it's definitely about having better informed discussions about how the two are linked and aligned. And again, that's systems-based approach,
Yeah. So what we've helped you with, hopefully through this,
yes, we hope
this concept is this, the strategic alignment is kind of a leadership role. It's down to you in your organization to understand where the business is going and try and ensure that you have the skills and the organizational side of things working in synergy with the business to help you understand if that optimization and workforce agility is helping you. we've put together a document with some key metrics for your skills and workforce planning impact. Wherever you are on your journey with this, you can understand your baseline and your starting position. Understand this is where we are today. And if I implement things like we've got the skills audit, if I look at how I do my L&D to target performance, if I look at cross-skilling individuals or reutilising people on different projects, those activities that we've talked about over the last 4 webinars, the metrics, you will see a shift, either reducing time for productivity or increasing number of cross-skilled individuals, reducing single point of failure, that kind of thing. So we have pulled together one sheet with key metrics for skills and workforce planning impact. So that allows you to say, this is the strategic alignment and the impact to this business of making these changes.
Yeah, and the key questions you're going to ask yourself to help make the assessment, is this making a difference? Did it allow us to do something faster, more effectively? Were we more productive as a business? Sometimes it can lead to better retention. We really hope that, so that there is tough questions to ask, but those questions should be easier as a result of being able to take this approach.
This is our final slide. So we'd like to say thank you, everyone, for joining us on these 4 webinars. We've had a lot of interesting comments and a lot of interesting feedback through the duration of these. So obviously, we're not going anywhere and we're still here to answer your questions. And we'd be really interested to hear your views and how useful these sessions have been for you. Your feedback would be great. So you've had these free downloads to help you structure your journey into building an organisational skills focus for 2026. Thinking about those objectives, you've got all of the equipment here to really get started wherever you sit on the roadmap towards using skills as a strategic asset in your business.
Yep.
This is where you are today. You are here. You've been through this learning about rethinking about your skills as a strategic asset. It may be that you want to think about how you get started, and we are available to help you and support you with your plan for 2026.
Yes, it's an agile process. It's not one point in time, but there's never a good time not to get started. So you can use the resources to get going, or give us a call and we're happy to have a chat and help kind of kickstart those processes or jump into any questions. And if anybody that's joined today's call that hasn't been on the previous calls and would like to receive all the free resources and access to the previous webinars, feel free to drop us a little email and we'll send some information over to you. But it's been amazing. We've covered lots of ground. Next year we'll be looking at taking a deep dive into each one of these sections too, and specifically pulling out different problems and things that we've encountered whilst working with organisations and how they've overcome some of those challenges, and trying to share some of the top tips from that too. We're really open to covering other things that might be of interest to you as well. So please do let us know.
Great. And you can, on the link that we send out, book a free discovery call with our team, and just use that as an opportunity to talk to us about what is it you want to achieve and how you're going to try and do that in 2026. We've got some thoughts. We can help you with your thoughts on that. It's a no obligation chat. So if you want to just come and talk about where your challenges fit, we may have some experience that could help you with that as well. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for your time.
Have a fantastic holiday when it arrives.
And do follow us over on our social media on LinkedIn for more information on the work that we're doing at the moment. It'd be great to see you on there.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.